Not everyone survived August. Putin, for example, survived, but it's a pity. But Prigozhin did not succeed, although back in June he breathed into both nostrils. He, of course, guessed that the skull might be demolished, but he did not know that so quickly. And now the Ministry of Defense is trying to seize the initiative of PMC Wagner in Africa. Will it work? Time will tell. So far, the upheavals in Niger and Gabon seem to hint at the growing influence of the Kremlin chaps on the continent, but the pendulum could swing back at any moment. Prigozhin was removed, but who will replace him? Yes, and the shadow of the false cook creeps more and more onto the cave, drawing the outlines of the impending turmoil. August was a psychological turning point for depth explorers. Drone raids are no longer perceived as something extraordinary. Plan, carpet, is now being introduced at Moscow airports every day. Even at the airbase near Pskov, military illies are burning cheerfully and provocatively, changing the idea of the invulnerability of the cave thanks to the large territories. Drones have learned to fly far into the depths of the fascist lair and attack, despite the peppy reports of the authorities that everything was shot down and the sky is clear. On Thursday, Bryansk howled, on Friday Kurchatov, and again the suburbs. A workshop for the production of electronics for rockets caught fire at the Tomolinsky electronic plant in Lubitsy. Solovyov and Gurolev performed a paired compare on the use of tactical nuclear weapons in the Zaporizhzhia direction, where the armed forces of Ukraine are successfully developing a counteroffensive. In the east and south, the armed forces of Ukraine broke through the first line of defense, opening up the prospect of a faster offensive. This breakthrough looks like a tactical one, but it could also become a strategic one, in the event of access to the Sea of Azov and gaining control over logistics lines. These things are certainly capable of changing the theater of war in Ukraine, and this can be achieved, said Lithuanian Foreign Minister Gabrielius Landsbergis, and called on European countries not to succumb to fatigue moods, strengthening support for Ukraine. After all, before the onset of winter, the armed forces of Ukraine need to have time to liberate as many of their territories as possible. The head of Ukrainian intelligence, Budanov, is sure that Moscow will not dare to launch a nuclear strike, even when the armed forces of Ukraine enter the Crimea, although he admits that shells with nuclear warheads for Su-27M aircraft have already been delivered to Belarus. According to the publication Politico, Ukraine can receive the first few Abrams tanks from the 31st promised already in mid-September. According to a Pentagon spokesman, 10 tanks are currently in final preparation in Germany. As soon as everything is finished, they will go to Ukraine. The Pentagon also ordered $192 million in advanced medium-range air-to-air missiles for Ukraine. The total number of missiles was not disclosed, but the order date is November 29, 2024. Judging by these reports, the US is acknowledging that Putin has so far managed to drag out the war. And it can become even more bloody if, in September, after the single day of voting, Putin launches a new wave of hybrid mobilization. On the eve of the re-election of the dictator for another term in the spring of the 24th, the more deep hunters feed the lice in the trenches, the easier it is to draw the results of a hybrid expression of will. And all the more ridiculous is the howling from behind the bars of the terrorist Gherkin about his readiness to be nominated as a candidate for the post of the leader of the cave. In prison conditions, he can only put forward his hooves. Funnier than this howl, perhaps, only the threats of the swollen stoned Kadyrov against the United States, where his mother was included in the sanctions list. The anxiety curve jumped over the swampy bumps, signaling an overvoltage. Mognati in stress. The war concerns them, this is already obvious. Chaos becomes part of everyday life. August seemed to be over, but his anxiety crept into September. The horizon of planning disappears, and fears are extrapolated from the skull of the leader to the ordinary organism of the cattle farm. No one is sure of anything and does not know what will happen tomorrow. Even the ratings of the fascist bosses, published on Friday, indicate turbulence. Shoigu went up sharply, Kiriyenko fell to 9th place, and Gromov fell even lower, to 10th, although he should be higher than the egghead. And only Mishustin clung to second place, skillfully keeping in the bald shadow. The system protects him and does not stick out. After all, no one knows how and when everything will end. Even worse, when all the worst is over, then the real nightmare will begin.